Hey, how's it going, everybody? We're starting off a new thing today. Starting off a web series, a webumentary, if you will. This is my boy Jeff,
Hello.
and I'm your boy Benji, aka Mr. McNelson. Without further ado, let's get into what we're gonna be.
Well, why don't so a little bit of background about us. Um, we've only really known each other for a little over a year now. I started at where we worked together over a year, and it was love at first sight.
It really was.
It was. We like I've never had such an intense connection with anyone or anything. But anyway, we're both in our last year of our undergraduate programs. I'm working towards a degree in environmental biology and technology.
I'm majoring in criminology.
And yeah, so I guess this whole kind of project started up when I recognized that we're both hilarious, for starters. But I mean, we have a lot of things to say.
We really do. We talk a lot.
We talk a lot.
Yeah.
But I think it's like it's a good way to learn just about how to express ourselves and how to become aware of some of the problems and topics and things that are happening in the world. Most importantly, Shrek is getting a reboot.
Shrek's getting a reboot. So, just to start this off, we're going to be covering a wide variety of categories here. Tonight happens to be reboots, things from like blasts from the past, movies, shows we grew up on. They're coming back for the new generation. Is it right? Is it wrong? We're gonna find
Is
out.
it so wrong? It's right.
Yeah, that's right. But that's not going to be the extent of the topics. Like we're going to get into everything.
Like, I mean, even just the other day, we were talking about like if humans are living in a sustainable way for the planet, and it got pretty intense.
It got
Like,
heated. We
was
had some. We butt heads a little bit there. I think
yeah.
that's to be expected, though. I mean, given the scope of the topic. But yeah, it's not going to end at reboots. We're going to be doing pop culture, news, pretty much everything under the sun. Um,
But a lot of this is going to be about what you guys also want us to talk about and what your thoughts are. Um, so
Feedback's huge. We're
yeah,
going to
so
need some feedback.
after this is all said and done, we'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this project that we're working on. Any suggestions, anything you'd like to see changed. Uh, yeah. So, uh,
Shrek.
Shrek. So I'm going to start off by addressing the Shrekifiant.
The coming of Shrek.
The coming of Shrek. It'll all be ogre soon. Yeah. Okay. So before we actually start talking about the reboot itself, here's my thing. Reboots happen to the best of my understanding and to the best of how I interpret reboots. Reboots happen when production software has improved or changed over the lifespan of the original movie. So, for example, like Shrek, right? It was CGI, and it was I don't know what the budget of it was like or what, but all I know is that it was one of the big OG CGI hits, right? Like it just exploded into a cult classic. So what I don't understand is why it's getting a reboot now. Like Shrek came out in 2000, which I mean, yeah, 18 years ago, but that technology is still a main staple of production software now.
Not only that, but you have to think of like the line of Shreks. Like the last Shrek just came out just a few years ago.
Yeah.
So like I feel like they're still telling the story and then now they're gonna restart and I don't know if it's like if enough time has passed.
Well, and there's even that Puss in Boots Netflix shows
Yeah.
too. Like a lot, like it's happening right now. Like it's
So the
contributing
story
to the
is
story.
the story's happening now, but we're gonna start again and I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it.
So like we haven't. I don't know if you have, but I don't know much about anything that's going on with this reboot.
We're going in blind.
We're going in blind. I've got it open up here, a little news blip. I have no idea what's going on. I just know that they're doing a reboot.
Can we talk about the original for a minute, though?
We can talk about the original for our whole lives.
Oh my god, we really can. The original was fantastic. Grew up on it. What else can I say? Mike Myers killed it. Little known fact about Shrek. Originally, it was recorded, and Chris Farley was going to play Shrek.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't know that.
So like, you can actually search it up on the internet and hear like the recorded sections of the script that had Chris Farley. I think it would have been amazing. Huge Chris Farley fan here.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But yeah, with all things said, Mike Myers killed it.
Well, and like Mike Myers was already a pretty, like he was making a name for himself just through the Austin Powers films. But then Shrek came along and, it just kind of exploded for him.
He was already a household name.
Yeah.
And now he's like...
The cherry on top, if you will. Well, and we were actually talking about this when we were watching, which show was it just now? The Australian guy.
Oh, Angry Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Lilly, Angry Boys, shout out. Huge fan.
So we were talking about how some of the topics in older, even just like mid 2000s, early 2010s, like topics in those shows are still pretty rough. Like
yeah,
you can't really,
it's racy for sure.
You can't really talk about too much that's going on there. But Shrek was always pure. Like Shrek didn't really, like obviously it tackled a couple of controversial topics, like toxic masculinity and Lord Farquaad and acceptance and body acceptance and everything. Like it was a really great movie and it stood for a lot of amazing things, which is why it earned such a high recognition and is so successful. But now like going forward with the reboot, I'm just not sure how the script is going to change, because I found that in the later Shrek movies, the writing style just kind of got lazy, like an ingenuine.
100%. Like the original was like, it can't be topped. Well, I guess we'll see if it can be with this reboot. But yeah, progressively, I think in the series, it definitely went downhill. Like I watched the second one. I think I watched the third one. I didn't watch, X, Y, and Z. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that went. But yeah, like with this reboot, they're gonna need some AAA actors and AAA cinematography. Really, it's not gonna be live action, is it? Does it say anywhere there?
I'm reading.
He's reading. All right, we're gonna find out. We're gonna get to the bottom of this, find out if it's live action or not. But I mean, just while he's going through that. There's so many things getting rebooted right now. Like there's the new Lion King coming out with some amazing actors. We were actually just going through the list the other night.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's going to be quite good. But then there's things like Space Jam. They're rebooting Space Jam. Originally I was like kind of hyped. I'm like, oh man, they're making a sequel to Space Jam, LeBron James. Like this will be pretty good. Then I found out it's a reboot. I don't know how to feel about that.
Well, and what movie were we talking about? This was a while ago, so I don't know if we'll be able to remember. But at what time where does it become appropriate to maintain a sequel or a trilogy or whatever the case may be, and to just throw it under the bus and move forward with a reboot? Because I mean, like there's no way that we can take anything going on with the Spider-Mans into this, because with the whole legal mumbo jumbo that was happening with Sony and how they had to have X amount of movies every few years, that one isn't really a valid example of this.
Yeah, don't even get me started on Spider-Man.
Oh.
Huge Spider-Man fan. Sam Raimi Spider-Man's I don't know, man. The first one was alright. We're going
to talk about that.
Second one was alright.
Another one.
Third one was a major disappointment. Big fan of Andrew Garfield. He killed it as Spider-Man, I thought. Emma Stone. My God, they killed it. They literally killed her. Um, but I mean, nothing negative to say about Tom Holland. He's also killing it. I like the way it's going.
Okay, so
We've got the deets.
okay, so first off, Shrek and Puss in Boots are both getting a reboot. And the guy who did Despicable Me is doing the revival. So basically, it's still in the planning stages right now. But what happened was, so Comcast bought out DreamWorks Animation, the studio behind Shrek, in 2016 for $3.8 billion. Initially, there had been speculation that Meledandri, whose Illumination Entertainment is co-owned by Universal, would be asked to oversee DreamWorks Entertainment. However, Meledandri says he came to feel that he couldn't manage the two companies and still maintain the same level of quality in the films he makes. So, like, why do it?
I don't know. Like, I've got one thing to say about Illumination. They actually are killing it. Despicable Me is wildly popular. They had the spin-off Minion movie. I didn't see that one, but I can only imagine.
Well, and he wants to do a Super Mario Brothers movie as well.
I was just going to say that. So I think that Super Mario Brothers will be very telling whether or not Shrek is going to be good. I don't know if anyone remembers the first Super Mario Brothers movie, like live action movie. Pretty sure it was in the 80s. Huge flop. So the fact that they're, again, rebooting Mario, I think this will be the right venue for it. Animation is where Mario belongs.
So just looking at Chris Meledandri's wiki page, he's been on a lot of really great animated films, right?
100%.
Like, he's done a lot of work with Disney and Illumination DreamWorks. So he was the executive producer for Ice Age, Robots, Ice Age Again, Horton Hears a Who, and then he was the main producer for Despicable Me, Hop, Despicable Me 2, Minions, Sing, which I thought was amazing.
Didn't see Sing.
I love that movie.
Just the list you're going through, though. I don't think there's been a flop in there. So
no, yeah, and he's actually the producer for the Grinch movie.
We'll find out about that. Going to see the Grinch tomorrow, so I'll give a shout out about that. I'm sure we'll have some things to say.
So, okay. I think I got all that I need.
The laptop's closed.
The laptop is closed.
All right.
Okay. So, he was mentioning that he's still not entirely sure how he's going to tackle this Shrek project. Obviously, because the vocal animation was so distinct and so prevalent that I think he's just a little bit concerned that with just from the article that I was reading, it seemed like he's concerned that he's not going to be able to top that vocal performance, because it doesn't seem like Mike Myers is going to be doing it, or any of the other old cast. Like, this is going to be
Antonio Banderas for Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
The thing, like my opinion has always been, like you said at the start of this, you do a reboot when things have changed to the point where you can make it better, right? Or you do a reboot when something was done wrong. Like, sorry, Sam Raimi, but your Spider-Mans, they needed to be rebooted. There's no way around it. But I mean, is that the case in Shrek? Like, has the animation gotten much better?
And see, that's what I'm trying to. That's what my concern is, because I have a hard time maybe the animation quality would be a little bit better. Like, the digital mastering and everything is going to be a little bit of a step up. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're able to see Shrek's thumbprints, and you couldn't in the original 2000 film,
Is that really going to change the
Yeah,
movie,
is
though?
that really going to make it worth it? Is that really going to make a whole new thing? I think if they wanted to do it, they should do like a spin-off movie, kind of like how they're doing the Star Wars now, where it's like
Mhm.
stories about things happening in
Rogue One and
far, far away, and
Han Solo and all that.
yeah, exactly. So, um, my opinion, I don't think that this movie is really a step in the right direction. Because don't forget, like a lot of the projects that he was on were they were all independent films, right? Mind you, The Grinch was the only one that I saw in there that was. I mean, obviously, The Grinch has been done a few times now, but you're going to see it tomorrow, so you'll be able to make the call if it's better than the
About the Grinch, though, like if you look at the original animated Grinch, you can't deny that animation's come a long way since then.
Right.
So yeah, there was the live action with Jim Carrey, which was great, but they're not doing a sequel to that. Like they're doing another Grinch movie, and the animation has significantly improved. So I feel like this warrants a reboot.
Yeah.
But with Shrek, I don't know. Like the original was great. The sequel was decent, and then they progressively got worse and worse. But that's the way all movies are.
Well,
really.
and I was just gonna say that's how movies happen.
That's a trend.
But where my question is now is, are they better off? And you already asked this. Are they better off just scrapping the whole thing and starting from ground zero and moving up, or continuing on the legacy and focusing less on Shrek's family that they have been for the last, I don't know, 13 movies or however many it is?
Yeah, like that's the only way I can see this really being like wildly successful is if they do the first one and it's great, and then they ensure that all the sequels are done better than the originals,
Right.
which really wouldn't be that hard to do. They weren't amazing, but yeah, that's really the only way like I can really get behind this reboot.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be. I mean, I just from what this guy's history has been like, it seemed like he might have some idea of what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole question is like, well, would it be better off as just being a cult classic, like standalone Shrek, and then that's the end of it? But I mean, at the end of the day, that's not what happened, right? Like they had like X amount of sequels that just nullified the impact that Shrek had.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call them. They were almost made for TV movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was no hope of them like recouping the money from the box office.
Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah, like I don't know, and like I wouldn't even call it a made for Netflix movie because those movies are actually pretty kick ass. Like they're great. So I don't know. And squeaky chair.
Yeah.
Squeaky chair. That's why I replaced it. I got this one here.
But moving forward with a lot of the live action reboots that they're doing now, obviously, especially with Disney, I've been a huge fan of all of them so far. Like I gotta say, I've been super impressed with all of them. Mind you, Disney is the biggest production company in the world ever. So with that being said, though, I was having this conversation with someone a while ago, but it was a couple of years ago when they first started hinting at the idea of a live action Mulan. And
oh yeah,
you remember all this? How they were like, they cast, I forget who, but it was not an Asian actress.
It was whitewashed.
Yeah, it was totally whitewashed. And so everyone lost their minds and was saying like, no, like if you're going to be doing Mulan, like do it right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when that happened, Disney is like, again, one of the wealthiest companies out there right now. So that when Disney kind of had the mindset like, well, no, like we're remaking this movie the way that we want it. And then it kind of went back and forth between the audiences on Twitter and social media. Like, no, like we are going to boycott Mulan if you whitewash it like you are. I feel like Disney was willing to take the hit and be like, fine, okay, we're gonna give you your unwhitewashed Mulan movie, but we're gonna sit here and tell you, oh, we told you so. because Disney can afford to have a flop movie every once in a while.
I think it's gonna be great though.
I think it's going to be amazing.
Like, how
I'm
do you
super
have
excited.
like it's like a I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a Japanese story. Like they're like samurais and I don't know. Like what is this? Like Tom Cruise, The Last Samurai? Like I don't know.
Um, yeah.
I don't know. With that being said though, like
Mark
there was
Wahlberg's The Wall.
yeah,
Oh my.
there was like Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is
Yeah.
like that's like an anime. And who'd they get for that? Was that Jessica Biel?
No. It was
From Avengers. What's her name? Can't think of her name.
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah,
That's the one.
Johansson.
We're terrible at doing this.
And that movie was popular. Jessica Biel, Jessica Alba. Oh man.
Also, fun fact: Jessica Biel came out in a news report that she would not name her son Batmo, so her son would not be called Batmobile.
Rest in peace.
Rip
Can I
in
get
peace.
Yeah? Can I get an F in the chat? Pay your respects for Batmo Biel. Oh man.
But yeah, like Lion King is going to be amazing.
Lion King's gonna be great. You know what? There's some movies that I think really could use a reboot that haven't gotten them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like we were talking earlier about like how topics in movies, like they were a little more cutthroat than they are now. Times are changing, and you can't say things you could say before. It's not politically correct. But I still think it's possible to make a very funny movie without like crossing those boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you think about like Scary Movie, like the series Scary Movie, like those were
Brilliant.
great. Yeah,
Brilliant.
I grew up on those. They were amazing. They started to lose me at 4, and the 5th one was like it's unwatchable. It's unplayable. Yeah. It's like when you put it in the VCR, and the VCR would like chew up your thing.
I'm doing it for you.
Yeah, this is for you. Return to sender. But yeah, I don't know. Those movies I think could really use a reboot. Specifically, the 5th one was like the exact same story as I think the movie was called The Haunted House with the Wayans brothers.
Mm.
Right? Like the Wayans brothers really made Scary Movie. So if we can just get a reboot on the Wayans brothers, I think that's what we need right now. Yeah. Wayans brothers.
So here's the thing. I think that you have the same formula for most movies, right? Like if you look constructively at how just action movies alone are portrayed, you always have the same 2 or 3 formulas that they always milk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got the big buff guy who's, an outcast and he has to save the world, but no one wants him to. Same as like buddy cop movies, right? 2 people put on a partnership that they didn't want, and then they have to save town or whatever, and they were fired, but they still went ahead and tried to save the town. So I think that when they do reboots like that, they're trying to bring something more to the table. Much like how I was talking about production value and how they can take that next step up to make it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
The writing isn't going to change. Like the script isn't going to change, but nowadays, and again, like the old school Disney movies had this down pat. Like they were the ones who brought forth animation to what it is now. But now, even when we watched Venom a couple weeks ago, and there was that scene between Riot and Venom, and all the little droplets of,
that was amazing.
Of the symbiotes, I think now, at least for us, we can appreciate production value in a little bit better because we're kind of in that age and time where we're obviously familiar with computers and technology, but we know how painstaking it is to do all that that fine trimming and tying in the loose ends so that when you have a great scene like the fight scene between Riot and Venom, it's amazing and it just floors you, not because of how visually stimulating it is, but because you look at it and you're like, oh my god, one frame must have taken like hours
An
and
insane
hours and
amount of work
hours.
goes
Yeah,
into it. Yeah,
yeah, for
you
sure.
really got to respect it.
Yeah, so with reboots, it's just that extra step. Like the story will still remain, and the morals and the lessons in the stories will still remain. But it's just going to be a little bit of a step up because now we have the technology, we have the capabilities and the manpower, and the AIs to robots are going to rule the world. But we have that technology where we can bring a little bit more to the table. The animated Lion King from 1994 is brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But now the remake Lion King, you know that it's the same way as back in 1994 when they did the animated Lion King. They literally had live lions in the studio so that they could draw them and sketch them. You know that they're out there in, the African plains studying these giant apex predators so that they can learn how they're going to go ahead and digitize their bodies and their movements and everything. It's great to see it moving forward in that way.
Absolutely. And I'm going to shout it out right now. If Toto's Africa doesn't play, huge flop. Movie's going to be a huge flop. They've got their chance. This is it. They better take it. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. But no, on the topic of like technology and how it's moving, very fast paced. What I am extremely excited for, actually, is the new season of Black Mirror. Yeah, buddy. Season 4, Black Mirror. Season 5, Black
Season
Mirror.
5.
Yeah, Season 4 is already out. Season 5 of Black Mirror. They're trying something a little different this time. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
It's like
choose your own adventure.
So they're doing a choose your own adventure episode. I don't know how it's going to work. Like maybe something will come up on the TV and you have to select it with your remote or maybe from your smartphone. But you're basically going to be able to dictate how the episode plays out. I think that's amazing.
The Black Mirror shows have already screwed me up something fierce. Like there were some episodes where I watched it and I'm just like, oh my god, what is real?
But like now it's gonna add like replayability to it. Like
Yeah.
you've already seen the episode, but now you want to see it a little different, or you want to make a different choice. And I think that's pretty interesting. Which leads me to I don't know if you've heard of Telltale Games. So Telltale Games, they make games for pretty much every platform: PC, mobile, Xbox, PlayStation, and they're all choose your own adventures. So they've got some pretty amazing titles. There's 4 seasons of The Walking Dead. So basically the game plays out. You buy it, you get episode 1, and you play through that, and then you buy the season pass, and it comes out with like 4 more episodes. But the decisions that you make, because it's all choose your own adventure, so the decisions you make in the first game of The Walking Dead are going to impact the 4th or 5th game. Like, it's crazy.
So each you'll never be able to buy the same game twice because it's always going to be different based on what you.
Well, you could restart. Like I've played through them a couple different because like with The Walking Dead, it'll be like, okay, this guy has a gun, or this girl's really smart, so she'll be able to like craft things for you and like get you out of sticky situations that way. Or there's this guy who has a firearm and he's good at shooting. But now zombies are attacking, and you can only choose to save one of them. So you save one of them, and then the entire game changes based on that. But then there's like different games. Like there's Back to the Future. They've got Jurassic Park. There's Borderlands, Game of Thrones. Like they were actually developing a Stranger Things game, which would be pretty sweet. I don't know if you've seen Stranger Things.
No, I'm the only millennial who hasn't seen Stranger Things. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
I wasn't sure there for a minute. I was gonna like pause frame, like take him upstairs.
Record scratch.
Yeah. Go upstairs, power through the seasons real quick, come back, resume, edit that bit out. But no, so I say they were developing because their studio actually just shut down. So they it's a huge thing right now. Like they were in the middle of a Walking Dead game, and the first episode came out, people bought the season pass, and then they're like, "Oh, we're not doing anymore." So it was a huge thing. Luckily, Robert Kirkman, creator of The Walking Dead, is going to complete the game. But what's going to happen to Stranger Things? A lot of people were hyped up for the game. There's another one, fantastic game, The Wolf Among Us, and that's like it's hard to explain. You play as the big bad wolf, like from the old like, is it Three Little Pigs?
Oh, it is.
It's the Three Little Pigs. So you play as the big bad wolf, and he's a detective, and you live in like this community of like all the different fairy tales. So like, Three Little Pigs are in it, like Pied Piper, like all of it, and there's like murders going on, where characters from these stories are being murdered, and you're trying to. Like,
so it's kind of like modern day CSI Brothers Grimm edition.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
but it's
sick.
like all the like the fairy tales and stuff like that. So they were developing the sequel to that, which was like long awaited from a lot of fans, and that's just not happening now. So with this Black Mirror episode where it's like choose your own adventure, like I honestly think Netflix should buy up this company, finish these games, and have them release like on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'd pay a little more for my subscription if I were able to get like choose your own adventure stuff like consistently all the time.
Yeah.
That would be wicked.
So I think I'll just mention real quickly as well. Benji's trade is gaming. I am less of a gamer. I guess my thing is more music.
Yeah. I don't know.
I play a lot of the guitar.
Yeah, he slaps the bass. There's no denying that.
But I also do a lot of stuff on Pokemon as well, and that's kind of how I got into the internet culture as well.
Here's the shameless plug. Tell about your thing.
Oh man. Okay. Maybe this will be our last topic before we wrap it up for the night.
Yeah. We'll put a little bow on this.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I had a Tumblr. I still do. It's still active.
You definitely still do.
I still do. So basically, my academic career has been in environmental science and environmental biology and science in general. When I was a kid, and I would always play pretend Pokemon, I would always get super peeved when we'd be playing in the field or whatever, and Buddy would be like, "I'm a Sandshrew." I'm like, "Fuck, what you doing over here then? Get over the sandbox. You're a Sandshrew." And so I kind of took that a little bit forward. I would pretend a Pokemon and screech out, "I'm a Sandshrew" at Queen's Park. No, I didn't do that often. I started a blog where I basically talked about if Pokemon were real, where would they live? How would they have evolved from modern day animals or homologously to modern day animals? How would they have evolved their traits, their abilities, like their vine whips or water guns? Like how would they have been able to have these adaptations? But where globally they would be distributed. And the series is called Pokemon in Our Biomes. Biomes being large ecosystems that have similar traits. So things like temperate forests or Arctic or xeric shrublands or deserts or deep sea oceans, things like that. These are all pretty integral and stable biomes for the planet. Anyway, if you're interested, check it out.
We'll drop a link in the description, I think. Yeah.
Right on that.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, the link is here.
But yeah, anyway, so that's kind of where my involvement in the interwebs community I got my feet wet.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. It's actually super good. It's a great read. He's very in-depth, super descriptive, and it's pretty all-encompassing, I'd say. How many generations of Pokemon did you get through?
Well, see how it works is I'll pick a biome. So say for example, like this right here, we're on the cusp of the boreal forest and the mixed forests.
Literally on the cusp.
On the cusp. So my first one was on the boreal forests. And so what I did was I just picked a few Pokemon that I thought would be appropriate for that geographic distribution. Talked about how they would have adapted to that environment, and I did that for I think there's like 20 or something now.
20 biomes, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not specifically on generation. It's
No,
just
no.
on like the area and what would fill it.
Yeah, so like there was one time when I wanted to do what mythological history revolved around mythical like legendary Pokemon, so like Kyogre, Groudon, or Mewtwo, or what their mythology was, kind of similar to how Greek and Roman mythology exists now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the Pokemon Inner Biomes thing is just it's a scientific spin on where I think Pokemon would be in the world if they were real.
Like when I say he's super in depth about it, like tell me quickly about Tropius.
Oh my,
Yeah, dude.
that's my favorite one.
I know it is.
Okay, so Tropius is a giant sauropod. He is basically a brontosaurus. Those aren't real things anymore. Look it up, brontosaurus. Etsne. Anyway, Tropius is a giant brontosaurus, and he uses leaves to fly. He's a grass flying type. So aside from the fact that that's impossible, he would not be able to fly, even though large sauropods.
Just because of his sheer mass. Right?
Just because of his sheer mass. Even though sauropods, when they existed millions of years ago, they had these giant air sacs in their body so that they were actually relatively light, even though they were 130 feet long. I'm getting off topic.
That's all right.
So anyway, Tropius, my thing was I put him in tropical rainforests. And so one of the things that I noticed about Tropius is that he had these little fruits growing from his neck. And so I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting adaptation, is how he would be able to eat these fruits and absorb these seeds, but propagate the plants from his neck. So then I kind of thought a little bit more, like, that's actually a really great way for Tropius to go around and propagate trees in the rainforest. So I'm thinking, like, okay, so Tropius, you wouldn't have just one species of Tropius, you would have different ones adapted for different tree species or different fruiting tree species, right? So maybe you would have, what are the different berries, like pineapple berries and anana berries and cherry berries.
Raspberries. They've got all sorts of stuff.
Blockberries. I'm talking about the ones from Pokemon.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not just saying raspberries. Like, I play Pokemon Go. There's there's golden raz. We got pineapple.
Yeah.
We got golden or silver pineapple.
Yeah.
Holy.
So picture different Tropius have different species of tree fruit growing from them. So then I thought, okay, so picture a flock of Tropius flying over the forest canopy, and then one just falls off and then it goes to the ground, and then that would be, in theory, what grows into a new tree. However, in the tropical rainforest, whenever a fruit falls from the tree, it's like instantly gobbled up. It's just like the amount of sugar and nutrients in fruit is just so highly in demand that fruit never exists long enough so that it can actually grow in the soil. Usually it's ingested.
Nothing
and then
goes to waste.
Yeah, so usually the fruit is ingested, and then through the feces, that's where it'll get fertilized. So then I thought, oh, another Pokemon, Sceptile. It's got those big seed pod things. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, like, oh, Sceptile jumping from trees to trees, following the flock of Tropius as it flies overhead, and then all of a sudden one berry falls. And then Sceptile,
snatched up.
Or he goes over, grabs it, fertilizes it with his little seed pod, plants it, and then boom, That's a new tree. That is, yeah.
That's Tropius in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely worth the read. It's pretty amazing, actually. It's really remarkable.
So the tag is mewisttheancestor.tumblr.com. All one word. My name on there is Professor Spruce.
Click the link in the description.
Yeah, that's anyway. That's kind of the idea of what I was going with it. I haven't written anything new in well over a year at least. But
well, we've got a new gen of Pokemon coming out next year, probably next November. So
yeah.
There'll be lots for us to sink our teeth into. But yeah, that's kind of the thing we're going to be doing here. Like, we started off, we're talking reboots, we're talking Shrek, we got onto Netflix, Choose Your Own Adventure,
production, cinematography, Pokemon, biology. I'm always going to bring biology into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hopefully I won't have to bring criminal law into it too much, but you never know what we'll be talking about. Like, there's always an opportunity, I guess. But yeah. Just want to say a huge thanks for checking us out. Say a little something in the comments, whether you think what we can improve on.
Yeah, guys, really. Honestly, let us know what you think. If you want to hear more of us, if you want a specific topic, like this is literally the first time we've ever actually sat down and recorded. Like, we always at work would joke about it, like, let's do it. This is the first time we're doing it. If you have anything that you want us to talk about, any suggestions, anything that you want to see, let us know. We're all ears.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for checking us out, and again, we'll check you out checking us out in the comments. And
yeah,
bye.
Bye.